father's house is next door, empty since his dad's death. It's a lot grander place with a lot more room, but Demos and Rose, well, there are certain memories in that smaller house. And gradually we began to grasp Demos' secret. Part of it his family brought with them from Armenia. This oldest Christian nation is also the one which has suffered most for its faith. And out of suffering has come insight. But it's an insight bigger than any race or nation. It's a secret every one of us needs to know, for when we do, as Demos says, no matter what the condition of the world around us, we will be the happiest people on earth. John and Elizabeth Sherrill, Chosen Books, Lincoln, Virginia, in November 1975.
The message from over the mountain.
The other night, Rose and I were driving through Los Angeles on our way home, when suddenly I got a yearning to get off the freeway and drive past the house where my grandfather Demos lived when he first came to America. After 42 years of marriage, Rose is used to these sudden impulses. So, although it was 1 o'clock in the morning, she said not a word as I turned down a ramp into the area that used to be called the Los Angeles Flats. The square stucco house was no longer standing at 919 Boston Street. We sat for a moment in the car, looking round us at the new federal housing which has replaced the rundown old neighborhood. Then I turned the car around and headed back to the highway. But with me, through the warm California night, traveled memories of grandfather. I knew why I had needed to make this detour tonight. It was because of a prophecy Rose and I had heard earlier in the evening. We'd been at a full gospel businessmen's meeting in Beverly Hills, where someone had made the prediction, claiming to be voicing God's own words, that a great persecution of Christians was soon to take place in many parts of the world, including the United States of America. What were we to make of a statement like that? What had my family made of a similar message a century ago? For there had been such a prophecy then too, and everything that had happened since in my grandfather's life and my father's life and my own had been the result of taking it seriously. It was 2 a.m. when I turned into our driveway in Downey, a moonlit hour far too lovely for sleeping. I'm a late-night person, much to Rose's despair. So she went on to bed, while I pulled the old living-room chair close to the window and sat there in the dark, letting my mind wander back into the past. I never knew Grandfather Demos. He died before I was born, but I must have heard the stories about him 1,000 times. I knew each detail so well that as I sat now looking out at the orange trees silvering in the moonlight, I seemed to be seeing another landscape, far away and long ago. This isn't hard for an Armenian. We are Old Testament people, the past and the present so woven together in our minds that what went on 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 years ago is as real to us as the date on the calendar. I'd heard it described so often that I could actually see the little village of Caracalla sitting solidly in the rocky foothills of Mount Ararat, the mountain, so the Bible tells us, where Noah's Ark came to rest. Closing my eyes, I saw the stone buildings, the sheds and barns, and the one-room farmhouse where my grandfather Demos lived. In this house, grandfather's 5 daughters had been born, but no son, and that was a disgrace among the Armenians, as much a disgrace as it was among the ancient Israelites. I could picture grandfather walking to the house church each Sunday morning with his 5 little girls. Although most Armenians were Orthodox, grandfather and many others in Caracalla were Presbyterians. I could see him marching through the village to the house where church was meeting that particular Sunday, his head held high in the face of the silent reproach. In view of his great need, it has always seemed surprising to me that grandfather did not accept right away the strange message that had been trickling over the mountains for nearly 50 years. The message was brought by the Russians. Grandfather liked the Russians all right. He was just too level-headed.